Hey everyone, Hendy here. I wanted to share with you some exciting news. So, we at Relationshift have organized the Your Relationshift channel into playlists. So far, we have 3 playlists, one for workshops, one for our regular podcast episodes, and one set aside just for interviews. That way, if you want some hands-on tools, you can head straight to the workshops. If you're looking for good conversations, the podcast episodes are all still there. And if you love hearing new voices and perspectives, the interviews have their own home too. This way, you can pick out exactly what you're in the mood for: tools, talks, or fresh voices.
Hey, Fraidy. Welcome. Thank you so much for making time to be here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Where are you calling into this podcast from?
I'm here on the big island of Hawaii. We live here on Shakas. And yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. So what I love about bringing on coaches, different coaches, is that you get to hear what each coach is passionate about, something that comes up a lot for them in their coaching experience, what they see women struggling with. We're all technically coaching the same modality, but everyone brings their own flavor and their own insight and their own experience. So I would love for us to just chat today, about what you feel passionate about as a relationship coach, or what you feel you want to share, being in this space on the podcast, having an audience of people who are familiar with the principles. What do you want to bring to the space?
Yeah, thank you. So something that I've been thinking about recently and seeing show up with clients, or just, I've been having these conversations with some other coaches, something that they've been seeing as well, is that it's very easy to fall into learning the principles. It's like you don't know them at all, and then you start learning them and you see the shift that they have in your life. It is so exciting, and it is truth, and it is real, and it's incredible. And we do start in like the principle order. Essential value is first. We know, and we go over it, that we have to be whole, we have to be a Kaylee, we have to know that our worth is essential. But I do find that as time goes on, or for some people right from the beginning, it can be easy to fall into the trap of the pressure of it, or seeing it as, now it's all on me. Now the way that the relationship unfolds, or the dynamic between me and my husband, is fully on me. And what that means is, if something is going wrong, or something isn't as perfect as last time, or if a conversation gets heavy, where have I screwed up? Where is this my fault? Where am I? If something's bothering me about my husband, quick, what's the value here? Like, maybe I'm not valuing him well enough. And it's kind of nuanced, because these things are all true, maybe. In other words, like, there might be a value here, but it's easy to experience it in a way of pressure instead of relief. So that's something that I'd love to discuss and process here.
It's so interesting that you're bringing that up, because I actually just had this come up with a client where, and maybe even people that have spent more time with the principles could feel this a little bit more, where you know the solutions so well, and they become a form of actually you trying to control your environment, which is obviously ironic, because the whole, one of the core ideas is not trying to control, or not being in control, or the danger of entering in that controlling space, and to take a whole ideology that's rooted in not controlling and use it, I guess, to control, can be really confusing.
Yeah. And either control, like, this is what will keep my marriage good, right? Or just a matter of deserving, like feeling like, if I do this properly, this is what I deserve. And if I don't do this properly, I don't deserve his attention or his love or his being mashpia, because what do I expect? Right? Because I wasn't Makabel. So it's this
Mm.
space where I hold too much weight and I take too much ownership. Um, if we are, let's say, a woman who can recognize that for years she's been in a very hard dynamic and she really takes ownership over her part, it can easily become, well, this is my fault. The reason why we're here, I can
Mm.
even see why we're here. I take ownership over my part. And therefore, I don't like, I owe him big time. He stood by me anyway. And so I kind of shrink. It can be experienced as a loss of value to a certain degree in my relationship, where I become inferior to him. I become like, oh my gosh, thank you for staying with me, even though I didn't deserve that. Right.
I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's a very, you mentioned the word nuanced in the beginning, such a nuanced, maybe something that someone wouldn't even notice or might even feel like they're doing the right thing, where they start to just kind of direct all that blame inward. And it's like stepping into ownership is stepping
Yeah.
out of victimhood, but maybe they stepped out of victimhood into like the space of I don't know what's the word that you would use for like the perpetrator, the person causing the damage in the situation. Like they've gone overboard with the ownership to the point that now they're like, I'm a bad person. Look what I did. Look what I've done to my marriage. Look what I've done to my husband. It turns into like this very bitter kind of self-blaming situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be that. It can be, I'd say that's more on the extreme end, somebody who feels like, wow, I'm a bad person, or I've like really, um, yeah, like really a lot, holding a lot of self-blame. But even in a smaller way of just, well, I can't expect more, or I can't ask for more, or I shouldn't ask for more because I'm indebted to him. In some way, I'm inferior to him. And what I see happening when that happens is there can be so much intention and space and value for my husband, because he deserves that, because I've been shutting him out for so long, because I notice that I haven't been giving him space and value, that I can lose the space and value for myself. In other words, for some women, it's becomes harder to voice their desires, or they feel like, I don't want to make his life harder than I already have. Like, let me just receive whatever he's giving me, and not, do I really need all these things? Right? Like really evaluating and taking a step back. And for some other women, it can show up in a sense of like, I'm so lucky that he stayed by me, or I see all the value in him, and I'm so lucky that I just need to receive that. But it can lose their own space in the relationship, their own value, recognizing my husband feels the same way. Like I am the same to my husband. Can I believe when we say trust the connection? I want to believe that just like I'm lucky to have my husband, he's also lucky to have me. And he
Mm.
experiences me in the same way that I experience him. He chose me too. It's not just like him doing a favor to me, or now if I deserve it, he'll be inspired to show up for me. There is that bond, no matter what we've been through, no matter how much I've emasculated him. There's always two sides to a story. There's always a dynamic at play. And at the end of the day, can I come back to real, honest value for me in this relationship as well as for him? I never need to give up on either of them.
Mm. Yeah, we have this notion, this I've seen in my own experience and with clients, is where it's sort of like in the idea of like giving somebody value, that it's kind of one or the other, right? Like someone, we're always in this, I guess, this seesaw model where like one we're not on equal ground, one's up and one's down. So maybe a woman switched from, thinking her husband was the problem, and then she switched to thinking, and she was the martyr and the righteous one for sticking by him. And maybe she reverses that and says, no, actually, I haven't been receptive. I've been emasculating, or I've been shutting him down. So actually, I'm the problem, and he's that's very much coming from that either or, like the idea of space and value being for both people at the same time. I think, I don't know if it's something that like we realize is possible.
Yeah. And I think the way that you know is how you experience doing the work. Does it
Mm.
feel like pressure? Does it feel like I better get this right or else of course he's going to shut down or of course he's going to walk away or if he does, not respond well, then oh, I probably didn't value him enough. Again, we want to be accountable. We want to know we want to be intentional about our choices. But am I evaluating myself all the time? Am I worried about what I say? Do I feel like there's a certain path in which this is the only way that he will be inspired to love me or to want to show up for me? Or does it give me a sense of relief that all I need to do is focus on my joy and focus on and believe that he does want to give to me and see that because it is there and it is true. I had I've heard this many times where a husband will say, I just want you to be happy. I just like it when you're happy. I don't like it when you're stressed out or upset. And the woman will take that as so much pressure. Now, on top of everything else, I also have to be happy for you, right? Instead of being able to really experience the support in that, he really just wants you to be happy.
You're
It's not,
saying
he doesn't need you to be happy all the time or else he'll leave you. Yeah.
you're saying it's funny because I think I guess where I've thought about something similar is in the context of betachon. We have this concept of trach gut vet sein gut, right? Like think good and it will be good. And so many of
Hmm.
us heard that and we took it as like a pressure, right? Like if I don't think good, like wars are going to break out, people are going to die of illnesses, like I have to think good. And it becomes so stressful, like, oh my gosh, I'm not thinking good. And like you and I remember like, and then, one day I'm thinking to myself, how does it make sense? Something's not adding up. Like, how is bitachon a source of stress? Like, that's
Yeah.
how is, and, and I understand why, because like, what happens? Like, how did you start this conversation? When you're told, like, this behavior brings these results, there's a certain like urgency that we have. Like, okay, I'm going to get there. I'm going to, like, I'm going to make this happen. Like, I'm going to fix this. And it's a very we get very much into that, like, I don't know what mode you would describe it as, but like I used the word control before, but even just like solutionizing and like, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to think good. We need to be happy. 1, 2, 3, go. Everything's going to be great. And then, like you said, like then the stress, the pressure starts to build. I wasn't so happy, maybe like I don't know, my kid hit his head because I wasn't thinking good today. And then like you start making these calculations and before you know it, you're really, really stressed out. Maybe what we're forgetting, you could tell me if I'm if I'm hearing you right. Maybe what we're forgetting is again, we get into this very like results mode, right? Like it's about like what we're going to get or what's going to happen or this behavior's, I need to like get the good marriage, get the happy ending, so to speak. And what maybe we're missing is that all of this work is not about getting to a place or achieving a specific goal. It's more about being a certain type of person.
Yeah. And I think what that does when we can step out of that pressure and can experience the relief of just believing in i- trusting the connection, believing that my husband wants to show up for me, believing that I can just relax into receiving. I don't need to do anything specific. I don't need to be a certain kind of wife for him. Then what it opens up is a human relationship where not everything I share is going to be perfect. Not everything I say is, I'm not always, I haven't always had the best rest. I'm not always feeling my best. Moments might get stressful, but my relationship can handle it. And I trust that too. When we have a foundation of love and respect for each other, at the end of the day, we're both human. And this is a human relationship. And can we experience connection and trust and safety through those moments as well? I don't need to start talking myself like, oh, now you don't deserve his, or now look what's going to happen. What would happen if I could just trust that this is a human relationship? We have a solid foundation and we can handle this. He can handle me not being in the best of places. I can handle him not being in the best of places. Of course, as a general rule, we do want to show up as our best, but we are also human. And I think that's really important. What happens when we can get through a very human moment and still maintain that support and connection with each other and not have to lose that? That support is so much, in a way, deeper and more real than making sure I'm showing up perfectly all the time.
Yeah, it's very powerful what you're saying, and I think so absolutely crucial to a relationship that's gonna thrive and function well. And I'm almost hearing like if we took the principle trust the connection and we kind of described it like we say trust the connection, brings connection. But almost like what I'm hearing you say is trust the commitment that you have to each other, right? Like even if a moment's not going to be connecting in the, in the typical sense, like in the joyous way, but knowing
Mhm.
that, like you described, we're committed to each other in our humanness, in our mistakes, in our moments, in our less attractive moments. We have this really, really strong commitment to each other.
Yeah, and
That's
it
very
and it
powerful.
it does it is experienced as a very strong source of connection. If I can believe that my husband's feelings for me do not rely on my being perfect or my following the principles all the time or my receiving him all the time, or else I'll shut him down, then when I'm really, first of all, when I don't believe that, it tends to escalate very quickly. It's very easy to escalate
Mm-hmm.
from, oh no, I'm screwing this up. Oh no, now he's not looking at me. Okay, this is right. It just escalates anyway. It doesn't really tend to bring more connection. But in a hard moment where I can remember and truly believe that my husband's not only it's his commitment, but it's also the way he feels about me. It's also how much he wants me in his world. It's also his permission of me to not have to be perfect and his expectation of me that of course I'm going to have hard moments. I'm human too. If I can believe that his connection to me and his feelings for me are not going to change from this moment, then this moment can be very connecting. First of all, it can pass much quicker and it can be very connecting that, wow, I have somebody in my life that supports me in this way and is here by my side. It is commitment, but I feel like it's also connection at the same time.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, meaning that's a very deep experience of connection to somebody that I know and I feel and I trust and I relax into their full and total acceptance of me. And what I'm hearing is really that the love is unconditional and the respect is unconditional.
Yeah, even when a moment's hard and even when words that are thrown around might not be exactly showing of that, it still is. And the relief in that gives me permission to relax into his care, relax into his support of me, relax into who he is in my world, which automatically turns the dynamic right side up. Automatically is so powerful for my relationship. Instead of holding like, okay, now I need to say this, or now because I'm doing this, it's gonna turn him off that way. It's like it's almost a turn off in that sense. There's so much more trust in believing that this is possible.
Yeah, I want to bring back the word nuance just because I like to put myself in the, I mean, I am being your audience, but I like to just think of where maybe someone would get confused between what you're saying and what other things that we've said on here about ownership. Um, so I think nuance is a key piece, right? Where we're talking about, first of all, a state of being, right? Where a person in trust is relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Like just in terms of, just to stop there for a second, like if a woman, wants to ask herself, like, how do I know? Am I doing the principles from a space of stressed, or, well, like, how do I fit into this picture that you're describing it? So she can ask herself a very simple question, right? Am is my general energy an energy of, like, one of peace, one of relax, like feeling a sense of calm? Um, Or do I feel that stress and that pressure and that tension of, the way you might feel? I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe you have one of, like, where you would see the difference.
Yeah, I think it is nuanced, but I think it's more than just the it can sound very confusing if it's like, okay, here's how you want to show up, and then but don't worry about how you want to show up. And I think that it's not in the same bar. It's one is foundational and then one is very practical. It's
Mm,
kind of like how I experience my relationship with Hashem, which
okay.
is if foundationally all of these things are needed for me, or else Hashem will abandon, just like you said with chocolate Vedzanga, right? Hashem will abandon me if I don't do the right things, or he'll punish me, or I'll end up, you know, having bad things in my life, or not deserving, or I can have a good year or a bad year. And if I don't, do all these things to the best of my ability, well, what do I expect then? I didn't do my best. And that's why we have to have the foundational belief, the foundational experience of Hashem as our loving father, as somebody
Mm,
who
mm,
first and foremost loves us no matter what, and is going to stand by our side no matter what. And no matter how many mistakes I make, I'm still enveloped in Hashem's love and care and strong hand. And then from that space, I'm motivated to
mm,
connect. I want to connect. I want to show him that I want this relationship. I want to show up kindly. I want to receive the blessings with gratitude that Hashem has given me. But it's a very different place to start from. And I think that's the nuance. Where are we
mm.
starting from? What is our foundational point here?
I really like that differentiation of foundational and practical, right? Like, what is the context for any of the work that I'm going to do? And I love that you brought up our relationship with Hashem. And I don't know when this is going to come on the air, but we are recording this very close to Rosh Hashanah. Um, the idea that my connection with Hashem found, like, would be based on certain conditions is absolutely, like, terrifying. There's no safety there. And I think
Yeah.
it, I mean, I know for me that would be paralyzing.
Yeah.
And I know for people who have, let's say, maybe misunderstood how, our relationship with Hashem works, or how the Torah is set up, it is paralyzing. And very often people who get that message, I think, do feel like they can't hack it. And it might even go so far as to, like, send somebody away, like have somebody turn away from Judaism, because that level of pressure and expectation is just terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, so where does the part where I show up kindly and respectfully and open and with gratitude, all of those things, they all come as a byproduct of being in this beautiful space, being in this connection of unconditional love, and then I want to reflect that in my behavior.
Yeah. And it's about him. It's about the person in front of me. It's about Hashem. It's about wanting that connection with Hashem, not about losing out, or not about what's expected of me, or not about fear. It's, I really want this because it's you, because of what
Mm,
you are in my world. And the same thing is reflected with our husbands? I mean, is it because, well, this is the only way that I can expect to have support in my life or safety or security or a person standing by my side, as in any person or any sense of security in my life? Or is this about my motivation, my pull to, and my draw towards my husband himself and what he means in my world?
Interesting. I feel like, I mean, I hear how for you if this is all one point, but like it's adding another dimension, which is how do we perceive the relationship in general, right? Like how do we view the connection and our husbands, like the way, let's say, just we're jumping back and forth from Hashem to our husbands, but sometimes I think about it like sometimes we are in this relationship where Hashem is just the ATM machine, right? Like he is a provider of needs. So we have this relationship with Hashem where we experience him as a provider of needs pretty much exclusively. And it's just like, do I have, is there a lot of cash in the ATM machine or is there not? And then also in terms of my performance, maybe if I do a few more mitzvahs, like I'll get more credit.
Hmm.
And we could be in that space with our husbands also. It's just like we see them in a very sort of like, I guess, functional, like for all the things that they provide us, safety, financial support, someone to co-parent with, somebody to talk to in the evenings if your husband's home. Um, it's and what I'm hearing you say is like you've kind of forgotten about the person behind all of that, right? Like, are you in a relationship with what somebody gives you, which basically means you're just in a relationship with yourself, and like there isn't really space there to connect with another being. When it's just about how much a person gives me or doesn't give me. And there's like, 1 second, you're here. Like, I want to be with you. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't, I don't want anything from you. I just want to be with you. Like, whoa. I feel like that needs a
Yeah.
moment of silence.
Yeah. The reason why it connects in my head, I'd say, is because what experience is that woman having? The experience of needing to keep him hooked because I
Mm,
need these things from him. I have to show up a certain way. I have to make sure I'm being receptive. I have to make sure I'm happy, or I'm a place where he wants to land so that he will want to give me these things, versus the relief in him choosing to be here and trusting that, and it not being about anything else. There's so much more when we look at wanting security, wanting safety, and pursuing that. Sometimes not pursuing that is the biggest experience of safety, right? Like that sense of this is not about what I do. This is not about how I show up. This is not about anything else. This is just about the fact that we have each other. We chose each other. This is real. This is not going anywhere. And that's why it's foundational. Because, of
mm,
course, practically, I do need to show up. I can't, vomit all over the place and expect that my house will be clean. Of course, I want to be accountable. Of course, I want to show up properly. Of course, I want to recognize how I'm showing up and constantly try to do better. We're all in a process of growth forever.
mm.
But foundationally, again, what's my foundation?
Wow. I'm genuinely inspired. I feel like, I don't know, I really am. I feel like this is such a powerful time to just be speaking about this. Like so much of what um so much of what Hasidus teaches us about the process of teshuvah and forgiveness. And like again, like I said, the Rosh Hashanah, the Yom Kippur, our relationship with Hashem is about really internalizing this unconditional love. Like the
Yeah.
relationship, the foundation of this relationship is a foundation of unconditional love and respect, and everything else is flowing from that. It's such a beautiful, crucial. I hear what you're saying, meaning it's so crucial that a woman hears this and internalizes it, and brings it into her marriage. I don't want to say it like that because then she'll feel stressed about about feeling unconditionally. Um, but yeah, it just like I don't know. Do you have maybe some tools or like just any more, I guess, pieces that
I
could help
think
you
it's
think about
just
this?
being open to the possibility. It's again, it's not like you said, we're not adding on stress that now you have to experience something else. But what if I was just open to that possibility? Just like we do with Hashem, right? When we try to process our relationship with Hashem, like what if Hashem wasn't mad at me for mistakes that I made, or wasn't going to punish me, or isn't this God in heaven that's, ruling with severity?
Mm.
What if I could just believe that Hashem is this unconditional love and support no matter what? What would that do for me? What would that feel like? Where would I be able to lean in? Where would that motivate me to want to connect instead of feeling forced to connect? And kind of just trying that on in my relationship as well. What would it look like for me? What would it feel like if I could be open to believing that this is foundationally, it's me and him, and it's not about the way I show up, and it's not about, I can't lose that by showing up improperly. Where would that maybe even motivate me to be more connected and experience more connection or want to show up better? I mean, it's just, I think just the question or just playing with that perspective and seeing what it might show a woman where they might have been experiencing that kind of pressure.
Mm.
But again, I think the biggest piece is what feels like relief.
Mm.
If it's feeling like pressure, it's not,
It's not it.
it's not it.
Yeah, I like that. I think to kind of play with it. Sometimes when you do, I don't know if you've had this experience or you've had this experience with a client, like when you do belief work, let's say a client is carrying a very heavy belief, and let's say this one that like my relationship is, my husband's appreciation of me is dependent on my performance as a wife, and she's carrying around that belief, and it's very, very, there'll be like a sense of heaviness around that. And you say, okay, can we just state out loud like the opposite, right? My husband loves me no matter how I show up. My husband loves me unconditionally. My husband respects me, values me, can handle my mistakes, um, respects me with my humanity, um, sees me as beautiful with all my parts. And just like, I've had a client like say that something like that, and then I'll just hear them breathe.
hmm
Even just being able to say that, like as a possibility, like they're not there necessarily even holding it yet, just like to put that out into the atmosphere, like that this actually might be a possibility. Even that already brings a sense of relief.
Exactly. And I think it can be really, really hard to believe, especially somebody who has, I mean, it's not especially somebody, because someone who has a lot of evidence and proof and comments made in the opposite sense, it can be very hard to believe this. But also somebody who has worked on their marriage and taking that ownership and really applied everything they could and saw the shift and saw what showed up for them, it can be very scary and very hard to hold both at the same time.
Mm,
So I think that's why even, to a relationship community to hear
mm,
this point might be, yeah, really important. Or I feel that's why I've seen it show up so much where, what do you mean? I see the difference. I see how he's turning towards me. I see how our relationship changes when I do show up the proper way. So it can be tricky to stand in both.
deep experiences take some, like you said, nuance and complexity to be able to hold both ends of the stick and
Yeah.
see how they're both true, and they both service each other in a very powerful way. And again, I think going back to what you said before about thinking of like the context that I'm doing this work in, thinking of the foundation. I mean, just to bring it back to how we started, it really is. This is really what we do mean about essential value. But I think maybe the missing piece was that we talk about when we talk about essential value, we talk about how we perceive ourselves, and we forget to maybe include in that our husbands see our essential value, right? They
Mm,
they see our core and you know unchanging, consistent, inherent value. And we can rest in that.
I think that's a great way to bring it back, because we get so focused on seeing our husband as a whole person, right? And having space and value for him. That this is what we started with. What would it look like to maintain that space and value for myself as well? To know that.
And from his perspective, not only from my perspective, meaning to entertain the possibility that he has an essential value perspective of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very, very powerful. I think we'll see what the audience feels. Maybe we'll do a part 2. We'll talk about it more. In the meantime, okay, so just to close us off, Fraidy, because you live in an exotic place that is very interesting and unique. So I'm curious, and maybe some of the listeners are curious. If you could tell us, I do with my kids, like something, your favorite part of the day, your least favorite part of the day. So tell us what's your favorite thing about where you live and your least favorite thing about where you live.
Favorite thing is easy. Weather and scenery, for sure. Access to warm, beautiful beaches all year round. Wonderful experience for the kids, running around barefoot. It's just a different lifestyle in that sense. And hardest thing, also the children. Chinuch for the kids. We have online school once our kids get old enough, but it starts at 6 a.m. and is done between 7:30 and latest 12 for my 4th grader. So yeah, chinuch for the children is definitely not having friends, not having a system, not being able to raise our children with anybody else. That's definitely the hardest part for me.
Wow. We're very grateful that you're there. Thanks for being there. Yeah, Fraidy, thanks so much for making time to come on. This was great. I'm really excited to share this with the world. And if you're listening and you have questions or comments, you know where to find us, email us, give us your feedback. And yeah, Fraidy's an amazing coach. So she's available too to help you out. And have a beautiful day.
Okay.
We would love to hear your feedback, thoughts, and questions.
Please leave a comment below or email us at yourrelationship@gmail.com.
Looking forward to connecting with you.
See you next time.